Okay. Shall we move on after that?
I'd like to into
Okay.
next year, but that's okay.
Okay, let's look at the surplus. I'm going to send out an amended surplus schedule, like I am. Also, I'm going to be sending out the schedule on the unencumbered capital. The good news here is that in the year 2008, generated in the current year is not 3.2, it's 3.7 million. Very, very, very pleasant surprise. Never thought December would come in like that. And one of the reasons I was basing that is because essentially the electric utility payments were shutting down in October, November, and December, below what I anticipated. So that's I'll send out that revised schedule. Once again, that's not going to completely stop the difference between the transfer in 2010 and the transfer in 2011. Those numbers are going to be revised, but there's still going to be a wide gap there. But it'll soften it. And also the amount that we generate in 2009 will be slightly higher due to the fact that I'll increase the reserve from, I lowered it 446,000. I'm going to make the recommendation we lower it 246,000. And once again, however, I know that the interest income, as we start to spend down the capital, the interest income that's transferred to surplus is going to be less. That's going to happen.
Robert, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I didn't catch the last two numbers that you just mentioned. You said for 2009, it will be revised to...
I'm going to recommend $5 million, and then
Right,
the other
I got
200.
that one. The other two numbers I didn't catch. Generated in current year for 2009?
It's 3.7 million.
For
Yeah.
2008,
For 2008, yes.
Right, I got
Yeah,
that one.
right.
But you,
but 2009 doesn't change.
No, 2000,
Or,
I will slightly adjust
Okay.
2009, okay? 2009 is going to be slightly higher because the reserve will not be as low.
okay, right.
okay. So you give
So-
us the new numbers once you
Yes, I will.
calculate that? Okay.
I will. So the schedule is going to improve. That's a good word.
This is just maddening. It's just
Okay.
maddening.
Electric utility. We ended '07 with almost 9 million, and we ended the year with 4,447,000. Those are actual numbers. We have the ability to make the transfer in 2009 of 3,450,000. The one-time operating subsidy is out. I expect to generate right in the area of $2.2 million and if we do not take rate action during 2008, we're not going to have the ability to transfer $3,450,000 in 2010.
You meant on the...
No,
No, 2010. 2009, we have,
We don't
we're
have it on
transferring
here.
Right, yeah,
$3,450,000.
so we're okay for 2009.
Yes.
But there should be some
We need rate action. in
rate
2000
action, not nearly what we saw this past year, but some
Correct.
rate action to preserve that amount.
That is
in the
correct.
Future.
That is correct. Yes.
But Ray brings up the point, where is the transfer in 2010? You're saying,
Well, it's 2.3 million now. Without
Right.
rate action, that's what
Okay.
we would do. Because we're now looking at a utility that's going to generate essentially $22 million in revenues, and it's very, very difficult to run that utility without some excess funding,
Yeah, but
liquidity.
to keep track of what you're
Yes.
saying and what's on the piece of paper, we're just trying to write this in to
Yes,
understand
okay,
it, okay?
Right. We need rate action in 2009 in order to transfer $3,450,000 during
Got
2010, 2011, and thereafter.
Robert, can you explain the 2008 subsidy?
Well, we did not collect enough, the cost of the purchase power in 2008, with the increase in the cost of purchase power, essentially from $7.5 million to $15 million we increased our costs by, including operating costs of almost $8 million. We had a significant shortfall in the revenue for our revenues to equal the appropriations.
So in other words, in
So-
layman's terms, you're paying $8 million, and we paid back how much of that?
In rate increases, we captured in 2007 and 2008 in rate increases of the 9%, slightly less than probably around $2.6 million.
And it's called a rate subsidy, but it was not subsidized by taxes, it was subsidized by prior year surplus.
That's correct. We use the surplus as a revenue.
So was electric utility subsidized in itself?
That
in
is correct.
1 year?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I just wanted to make
That
sure.
is correct.
People
Right.
understand that.
Had no impact on municipal taxes, had no impact on non-municipal revenues. It had-
Not directly, indirectly,
Right.
it could have been used to reduce
That
taxes
is
if there
correct.
had been a
Okay.
positive, right?
But there was no negative impact from the electric utility in 2008 as far as the municipal property taxes, and 2009.
But Robert, maybe, I mean, the positive side is the positive impact on the residents, because we deferred rate action for over a year.
Well over a year.
Instead of passing on a sticker shock, humongous rate increase, we returned the dividend to our stockholders, our shareholders, which are our residents and our commercial users, by not passing through that large rate increase and deferring it for 15 to 18 months, and taking the electric utility surplus to, in effect, pay our costs and operate the utility at a deficit for a year or more, and allow our residents to catch their breath before we had to send the bill out at the magnitude that had to go out recently.
Yep, that is a correct statement.
And we'll probably have to go out in the future, because we're still behind.
We will go out in the future, but we're locked in on a 5-year contract that has a cumulative increase of 7% that'll run through the year 2014. So now that we're back into the black, our rate action will be significantly less, but it should be moderate rate action on an annual basis in bite-sized pieces that people can absorb in their budget, not large increases that come and people have to make a choice.
I don't think the public fully understands that what we're paying for power, we're not recapturing, we're not even breaking even. We're using reserves that were made in other years' revenue to offset those costs. We haven't caught up, and we haven't caught up yet, even though we had the rate increase, and that's going to be laid out flat. So,
Correct. Agreed.
Well, just,
Caught up.
it sounded like the utility is bleeding, and it certainly isn't, because it still spun off surplus to offset municipal costs this year to reduce taxes.
It's spun off surplus
Right.
after you take,
And we did do one rate increase prior to our big jump in there were 2 rate increases before we actually had to pay the higher rate. So we were doing smaller increases, and had everything gone as everything was predicted by the experts, those small incremental increases would have been fine, but we learned quickly, and rather than hit with a major one, we were in good enough shape to have a surplus in there to cushion us through, and what we call rate cushioning. And so as we go through, in order to generate this surplus, which we call kind of our taxpayer stock benefit, we will have some small typical rate increases every year, or almost every year going
yes,
forward.
yes, and just to remind everyone, actually, we were able to do that because the council took rate action of 9% in 2007, and we intentionally built up the surplus of almost $9 million. That wasn't
Correct.
accidental, that was an
Right.
intentional goal to do that in order to.
that was the differential between
Correct.
the old contract and the new one,
Yes.
which purchase power
Yes.
was extremely high.
Yes.
But, no, I mean, it's not we're bleeding, but we're not making a profit. We're not throwing off that cushion that we had to be able to grab to pay down taxes.
Not to beat a dead horse, but that 3.4 subsidy, part of that came from the intentional advance fee increases we did prior to power purchase increase.
That is correct.
Correct.
The water utility? The water utility has had an odd history.